Good morning, hockey fans. This is Stephen Heisler with HeisHockey.com, the Victorious Hockey Company, and the crazy, eccentric, often controversial junior hockey discussion group on Facebook. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. Today is Wednesday, May 31st. Going to close the month of May today. You can find us on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, more here. Hope you're enjoying your morning. Last day of May, we are up. This is a live show this morning. Today's guest is Martin Unger. Good morning, Martin. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. I'm doing great.
Man, we're very excited to announce that we have added Martin to our Victorious Hockey Group family. And he's going to come on and do a lot of education stuff for our players and prospects. So we'll jump right into this morning. Martin, you've been involved in NCAA basketball as a coach for a very long time. How important is it for a prospect's – try it again. How important is a prospect's high school academic performance to the NCAA recruiting process?
Well, it's tremendously important because, first of all, you got to be eligible to play, right? So your academic performance is based on whether you're eligible to play. And then after that, once you have them on campus and you're coaching them as a college coach, you want to make sure they stay eligible. So, even if they squeak by and they're barely eligible to play college sports, you still got to stay on them. So as a coach, how many of those guys do I want on my team? And as I'm recruiting, I'm thinking if I have 10 of those guys, I'm spending most of my time worrying about this kid trying to pass this class to stay eligible, or what kind of resources do we have to help them with to stay eligible, or do all these things. And maybe they aren't eligible, and now I lose them for a semester or a year or whatever. So it's really hard, that balance of talent and academics, of trying to figure out what's the best for your team. And so when I was a coach, I look for maybe one of those guys, because I couldn't handle more than that. And it's a risk reward type deal. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, like if it works out, it's great. If it doesn't, it's going to be okay, because I got all these other guys I can count on. So it's really tremendous to be academically savvy in what you need to do. And kids really got to stay on top of that.
Coach, character plays a huge role in Victorious Hockey's decision to accept a new client or not. Do college coaches place a high value on the prospective athlete's character as well?
Yes, they do. I'm not going to lie. There are some coaches who look the other way because they want to win. I am not like that. And that's why I think this is a good match for me personally with Victorious Hockey, is because I was character first. And, at the end of the day, sports will run out at some point, and you've got to have a whole nother life after that. And, as a coach, what I tried to do was help people get prepared for life after sports. And when you're looking at that, you got to find these good, high character kids that you're trying to continue to mold, and, hopefully you make an impact on them to where they're even more successful than when they came in. But again, it kind of goes back to the academic part. Do I want to spend time chasing guys or worrying about whether they're staying up all night or getting arrested or doing drugs or all this stuff? I don't want to deal with all that stuff. I just want to coach, and I want kids that are going to come in and work hard and, do the best that they can to the best of their ability. And, I think in the long run, you do those things, you're going to end up winning. Winning's a byproduct of all those things that you put in place. But if you're constantly chasing kids and worrying about whether they're doing this or that, you're taking away from all that other time that you could be devoting for more important things.
Tell us about Raise It and the impact that program had on the student athlete's performance in and outside of the gym?
So I created Raise It for my program as kind of our motto, which was respect, accountability, integrity, sacrifice, excellence, and then it was intensity and trust. And instead of doing like, most coaches or a lot of coaches will put out, these are our rules. Curfew is this time, can't do this, can't do that. I didn't really do that. I said, if we follow this product, those things aren't even going to matter, because if you respect your teammates, respect your coaches, your parents, you're not going to be out all night running around, doing bad things. Accountability. Are you holding yourself accountable to those things? Are you holding your teammates accountable? Having good integrity, sacrificing for the better good. I might be a star player, but there might be some games where I might have to be a role player for us to win. Am I willing to sacrifice? Just trying to be the best that I can be with the excellence part, and trusting your teammates and those sort of things. But all those really equate what you want to be in life, right? You want to do all those things in life. So it's just kind of instilling, being a good person and trying to be the best that you can possibly be, and using those as a guide to where, if you just follow those things, you're going to be in a pretty good place. And once you graduate and move on, I want you to be a good husband, good father, and a good citizen. And that's kind of how I went about it.
You stepped away from basketball a few years back. What have you been doing since?
So, college basketball and college sports in general can be very exhausting. And as you do this for a long time, you don't have a lot of time with your family. And so I wanted to step away and spend more time with my family. I have 4 kids. All of them were involved in sports or still involved in sports. And I wasn't, quite honestly, I wasn't a great dad to my older daughter because I wasn't around. And I felt, I don't want to say guilty, but, I felt bad. She'd probably been to 8 different schools because we moved around the country. And so at my last stop here, I promised her that she would, graduate from the last school that she was at. So I was trying to decide what I wanted to do and continue to help young people and figure out how I could still make positive impacts on people's lives. And so I got certified to be a school counselor. I've been doing that the last 6 years, along with coaching some high school basketball as well. But I stopped doing that to focus more on my own kids and just the kids that I had at school. So, working with kids, trying to get them graduated, going to college. And then, I'm working at the largest high school in the state of North Carolina right now, public high school. And I'm in charge of all the NCAA eligibility stuff for our own student athletes. So anybody from swimmers to football to baseball, basketball, all the sports that we have here. I work with those athletes about how to set them up to be successful, be eligible. There's so many, a lot of things when you're going through this process. You say you just need to be eligible. A lot of kids, well, I don't even know how to be eligible, or what do I take to be eligible? How do I do that? And I think that's what I can offer now moving forward of, how do I help these kids understand what they need to be eligible and what's best for them as, a student athlete, because everybody's different.
Your level of experience with the NCAA eligibility process is just a small part of the reason we felt you'd be a huge addition to us here at Victorious Hockey. Your family has been a client for a few years, and we became friends as a result. What are the common factors between student athletes from basketball and hockey?
Well, I tell you, all athletes want to compete and be great at what they do, right? So there's no difference in that. They all want to get to the highest level. They all want to be really good. They all want to get better. So those are commonalities. The games are very common as well, as far as you have teammates that you need. You can't just carry the puck from one end to the other without your teammates and just go down and score. You need your teammates to set you up, pass the puck. Same thing in basketball. No, but you never see a guy just dribble all the way down with 4 guys back and, score on all 4. So there's a lot of commonalities with sports in general, as far as, hockey and basketball. needing those things to be successful. The team sacrificing, the trust, all those things are the same. Obviously the differences are you're on skates and you have a stick as opposed to you have a ball and you're running. So, like I can't necessarily teach, like my own son who plays hockey, I can't necessarily teach him the skill of skating or sharing the puck or, shooting, but I certainly can talk about spacing and the game itself of working hard, doing what the coaches ask you to do, being a good teammate, being a leader, and then using those teammates because you got to have your teammates to win. Look at the Stanley Cup. One guy can't win it. It never is that way, and that's in all sports.
Junior hockey players generally have a 2-year gap between high school and college. Before starting their collegiate career, what should they be doing during those 2-year gap academically?
Well, so you don't want to lose your eligibility, right? So that's a big thing. You cannot be a full-time student after you graduate. Your clock will start and you won't be able to, you'll lose a year of eligibility. So you have to take 6 or less hours to be a part-time student. So you can do that at a community college. My suggestion would be if you're considering going to college and you're in juniors and you've already graduated high school, taking one class a semester at a community college. It keeps your mind engaged. You're going to need it probably somewhere down the line when you go to college somewhere. It's going to transfer as long as you get a C or above. But I think it also keeps you in that school mindset because it's very difficult to graduate and then take 2 years off and then all of a sudden throw you into an NCAA setting where now you've got to manage hockey, school, all this other stuff that's going on, being away from, you're used to being away from home, but you're in a dorm now instead of a home with maybe a billet family or something like that. So you're juggling a lot of different things. So if you can take one of those equations out and say, well, I've already been in school, I'm still in that mode, I think it helps that transition more.
Is that 6 credits at one time or 6 credits over the whole year?
6. Well, it's a semester, right? So each class that you take is worth 3 credits normally, right? So if you take 1 class a semester, that's 3 credits. If you take 2 classes, that's 6 credits, and it's per semester. So if you were to take 12 credits or 4 classes in a semester, you would be considered a full-time student.
It includes the summer as well, I guess, right? It's a semester?
Correct.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. What percentage of former players from basketball have become friends that you stay in communication with?
Probably 95 to 97%.
The ever-expanding family, huh?
Yeah, and it's great. It's awesome to hear from. I had one of my former players who flew into Charlotte and was doing some work in Spartanburg, South Carolina or something, but he called me up. We met for breakfast. He reached out and said, I'd love to see you again. A lot of my guys are all over the country, right? So they're not all here. So I don't see them as much as I would like just because they're all over the country. But, if I go to Chicago, I got a player that, or a few players that live there. I'll try to go meet up with them, see their families. I'm still close with their parents. Because once you take a kid, as a college athlete and just like a billet or whatever, you're an extended family. So you become close with their parents and, you're basically their father figure while they're there for 4 years. But, I talked to a lot of them. They'll call me about when they were getting married. I had one of them, hadn't even told his wife that he was going to ask her to marry her. And, he called me first and told me he was going to ask her, babies, all kinds of stuff. So weddings, it's great to keep in contact with them and see them grow. And I still have guys playing professionally at different places, and I have guys that are engineers. I've got, all kinds of different things. So it's really cool to stay in touch. And the great thing about social media too is, I get to, Facebook friends and Twitter and Instagram. So a lot of things I maybe wouldn't have seen because we don't live close, I get to see on social media. So that's cool too.
I think Victorious Hockey's been around one way or the other for the last 10 years. I think I have over 50 hockey grandkids so far.
Yeah.
I didn't. My kids didn't make it, but the hockey players certainly have making. There always seems to be a rush to get players from AAA levels of youth hockey to juniors. One of the things I've always been most concerned about is the impact that has had on the prospects' academics. What can parents do to keep their young prospects on the path academically while doing AAA?
That's a great question. And every kid's different. Every situation's different. You know, it's not just the academic part, the emotional part as well. Some kids just aren't ready to go away and handle that kind of stuff. Some kids can, but then they go to a program that may not be suited for them as far as what their needs are. And so then that becomes a problem. They're ready, but that team might not have the resources in place because junior hockey, as you know, Steve, Stephen, you could have a bunch of guys. You could have, if you have 22 guys on a team, 19 of them have already graduated and aren't doing any school at all, right? So the three guys are stuck trying to figure out, how do I make time to do my academics? And if you go to a program that might have all 18-year-olds and they're all still in school, it's a lot easier for the coach in the program to create a study hall or a school session or something like that. And so that's much easier. I think the structure part of that is really hard for the kids because they get caught up in, well, the guys I'm living with aren't in school and they just play video games or they got a job or something like that. And now I don't know what to do because I've never done this before. So if you're emotionally ready for that and you are disciplined enough for that, it's much easier. But if you're not, you're looking for a train wreck. So first thing is you got to figure out what kind of, is your son ready for that? And if he is, am I putting him in a position with this program by asking questions? What are you doing for study hall? What are you doing for academics? What kind of resources do you have? And if that doesn't fit, then maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe you need to stay home. And then, the other thing too is there's so many with COVID and everything, there's so many options now where you can still go to a high school. Like you might say, I've got to go to a AAA program or a junior program that has a local high school that I can go to because my son needs the classroom, or he doesn't. So I can go anywhere, but I've got to make sure he's got time to study and how that works. So really it's case by case. I think that's where I can come in and help navigate through that and figure out what's best for the student, the parent, the academic success, because at the end of the day, the academic success is the most important because without that, hockey is gone. Like, it's just not going to happen because you're not going to be able to get into school. Coaches don't want you. And now what are you left with? Because now I don't have nothing to fall back on. So it should be school first. So as we are asking those questions, that's some of the stuff you need to ask as a parent.
There are a few online schools that are compliant with NCAA regulations. What should parents be looking for when selecting a virtual school program?
That's another great question that I get quite a bit. There's tons of online schools out there. You have to know, or you have to find out for sure by using your resources, asking the school, or you're asking people like me, is this accredited with the NCAA Eligibility Center? Are these classes that they're taking compliant with that? Every state has a different school or different route. For example, you've got the Florida Virtual School where you can actually go there online. It's NCAA accredited and you can graduate from there. In the state of North Carolina, they have a North Carolina Virtual School, but you can't graduate from the North Carolina Virtual School. It's run through your local high school. So your local high school has to be willing to work with them in order to do that virtual piece. Then there's other, schools out there, these, TPH Prep School, Michigan International Prep School. They're all over. There's all kinds of different prep schools out there, or online schools out there. You just have to know by using your resources and asking people like me, am I going in the right direction? Is this school accredited? What, what do I do with this? And, it's not an easy task. And I think that's why you got to reach out and ask people, because you don't want to make a mistake. Because if you start taking these classes and they're not accredited, you've kind of screwed yourself, and you don't want that. So it's important.
We've been talking about this for years. I'm glad to have you on the show this morning. What is a red flag for NCAA coaches about the number of schools a player may have attended over the course of his high school career?
Well, it starts with the eligibility center, right? I mean, they flag you if you've been to multiple schools, and they get every transcript. You have to turn in every transcript for every school you've been at. So if you're hopping around, the eligibility center will automatically flag you, and the process is going to take much longer than just a check of the box. Okay, they're good. They're NCAA compliant and they're ready to roll. So I really try to tell people, and everybody's at a different stage. We talked about the junior hockey. When there might be some kids that are just going into a freshman year, as opposed to, I just need one more class to graduate, right? So you want to try to stay the best of your ability at one school over those 4 years, because it's just easier. Number one, the track that you're on, because when you start switching schools, all of a sudden the rules are out the window. And, well, I took those 5 classes at this school. Well, those 5 classes don't count at this other school. So now you're behind. And so now you're trying to, so you've got all those things going on. But also, you need to know where you are in your academic career to know, if I just need one more class, I probably just need to stay where I am and figure out how to make that happen. So again, everybody's on a different path, and it's really specific to your kid. But my suggestion would be to try to stay in one school the best you can for 4 years. But if you can't for some reason, then you need to try to figure out, you don't want to go to a situation where you're losing a bunch of credits and it's just created a total chaos of the transcript. And now you've got eligibility issues. You've got the eligibility center, asking about all these questions, and you don't know the answers, and it just becomes a little chaotic. And it's just something you don't need as a parent or a student.
We've been telling kids this for years when they go from one prep school to the other, and the parents don't really get it. What do you mean I shouldn't be doing this? I am a big proponent of virtual schools and having continuity over the whole course of a player's academic career leading up to college. But some kids are just not wired to do school virtually. They have to be in a brick and mortar school. And that makes it tough for them. And if they're going to transfer once and be done with it. Don't step up. If you think you're a ninth grader and you're going to go play for AAA in Michigan 1 year and maybe Nevada the next year, and then go start junior hockey as a junior and play 2 other places, you can easily have 4 different schools on your transcripts and without any problem whatsoever. And that's got to be catastrophic for it getting into a Division I school.
It just makes it more challenging. I'm not going to say that you can't do it. It just makes it more challenging and stuff that you have to worry about that you wouldn't have to worry about otherwise. I tell you what, you mentioned that online, it's not for everybody. And you're right. COVID, being in COVID and seeing kids go online that have never done online before, and they just went in the tank, and they just couldn't do it. And then you had other kids that you would have never thought they would ever be good at it, excelled in online schools. So again, goes back to the specific kid. What are they better at, learning wise? Because it's totally different styles. You got to do a lot of reading. Online is a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos, a lot of self-paced stuff where it's not traditional. Sit in the classroom and watch a teacher teach and write down notes and take tests. So, are you disciplined? Are you able to learn that way? Some kids, have learning disabilities or things like that, and they just can't do it. And that's okay. I think that's the other thing. You got to understand, it's okay that you can't do those things. We get so caught up in, he's got to do it because it's no. There are other ways, and we'll help you find those ways to do that, to make help your kid become successful. But we have to, find that out. And because of COVID, you should know by now whether they were good in online or not.
My own kids are on Florida Virtual School program. My daughter Sonia is a professional singer, and Tommy helps dramatically with that. My son's a ninth grader, and he struggles in algebra and English for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Knows English because he speaks two languages. But I'm telling him, and I'll tell the parents the same thing. When you have a problem in a base course like algebra or like English, don't let it slide. You get that kid some help and do it quickly, because if he's having a problem as a ninth grader, he's going to have a bigger problem as an 11th grader down the line.
Absolutely.
It's a good foundation. So I would like to see Victorious come up with a plan. Well, that would be right. To maybe you can help us to get a line of tutors available for these kids that are struggling, and let that be part of what we do. And I think that's something that you can be a huge part of for us.
Well, one of the big things I've seen kids struggle in is math and foreign language over the last 4 years since COVID, because they're all like, stepping stones. You got to have that base. And if you don't have that base, then you try to move forward and you don't know what's going on. In math and in a foreign language, if you didn't get Algebra 1 or Spanish 1, a good base, you can't. I mean, you get to Spanish 2 or Algebra 2, and you don't know what's going on. And so, in order to, that's where I see the kids struggle the most, or with online especially, because when they were in the COVID part and they didn't get that math background that they needed, they're really struggling with that right now. And it's just tough. So getting support, however that is, it could be tutors, would be great. Those are always helpful, but also just, having the parents and the kids make that effort to say, I need help. I mean, that's the first step, because they, a lot of times it's like, tough it out. You're just going to have to figure it out, and they don't know how to do it. And, that's kind of what we're here for, is to try to help.
Excellent. Well, Martin, thank you for joining Victorious Hockey, and thank you for being on our show this morning. Let's try to get you back once a week, once every other week, and talk about the school element, because we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that part of what we're trying to pull off here.
Absolutely.
So, until tomorrow, Martin doesn't have any coffee. I can't salute with Martin because he's.
I got a water bottle. You want a water bottle?
Oh, there you go. Coaches and water bottles. Don't throw it at me, Coach. Don't throw it at me. So until tomorrow,